Hey guys, welcome back to trimester 2 of science. I want to walk you through how our notes are going to change from try 1 to try 2. As you guys know, in try 1 we used Savas, which formerly was Pearson, as a way to kind of use our textbook to help us with our vocabulary. Now that we're moving away from a textbook-based kind of class, it's going to be a little more difficult and definitely different from how we've done it in the past. So over here, we have our PowerPoint slide that we are going to be taking our notes off of. Over here, I have an example of what your notes will look like, okay? One of the things is we want you to, again, take these in your notebook. One of the reasons that we take them in our notebook is it actually forces us, as we're writing our notes, to put the thoughts through our brains multiple times. We have to read it, or in this case, you guys are going to kind of listen to a lecture from either Mr. Eddy or Mr. Wall. And during the lecture, we're going to tell you when to pause and take notes, okay? This is normally something that we would do in person. If you're in person, you're going to get it in person. If you are virtual, you're going to have to kind of just deal with the Zoom or the Screencastify that we're doing right now lecture. All right, it's not the world's greatest, but it's going to have to work. So what we do is, as we are doing the lecture, you're going to pause and take notes. And like I said, notes before were like you had your list of vocabulary words and what you needed to copy down. This is going to be a little bit different, but I'm going to kind of show you how it works out. All right, so here we go. Our first set of notes is going to be called atomic structures. So what I did on our notebook is I mentioned that we were in try 2, and obviously you're not going to write notebook setup, but I did. What is the unit we are in? We are in the magic of electrons unit. So I'm putting that as kind of a big header. You could write it bigger, whatever. What is the name right here of the lesson that we're taking notes on? This is called atomic structure. So right there is just kind of like the basic, like here, if this was like a chapter in Savas, this would be your chapter. In this case, it's our lesson that we're working on. And our lessons and our lectures are going to take a day or two to actually do. So you may have this where it's spaced out over 2 days. All right. So I'm not going to go through and actually give you the lecture, but I'm going to go through and give you the fast version so we can practice taking notes and what that looks like, okay? Again, this is not the actual lecture. This is the how do we take notes on the lecture. All right, so let's look at this, okay? When your teacher clicks on the slides, you're going to see stuff pop up. And sometimes on the slides, you'll actually see where there's like animations and things happening. So over here, one thing I want to point out, and when it's take notes, is when we have the title here, you guys are going to put that into your notebook. Okay, so the title here is electrons. That means we're going to put some information about electrons. Okay, and what this is that's kind of what we're going to be learning about, is we're going to be learning about atoms, electrons, elements of atoms, like all of those different things. And so right here, we have models of the atom, models of the atom. And there's going to be a little animation here that's going to play that goes from a 3D to a 2D. And the reason why we are drawing this in, we'll talk about it later, is this is important information that we may end up using. Okay, so a 2D and a 3D. So what I did, again, is I went and I just drew it. Notice how I didn't really write down Bohr's model. We don't need to know that. And as your teacher, we will go through and tell you like what information you need. So at this point, I would say take notes, and I would pause the video like, if I can figure out how to do it, we would pause the video. And when we pause the video, so it's right here, we would come back and we would start talking about it. You probably don't notice the pause the video because, again, if I pause it and I start back up, it's really not that long of a time. That's why when we say take, at this point, we want you to take notes. We are going to give a few seconds, so it'll sound like this. Take notes. And those few seconds there is where you would pause the video. So yours is a little bit different than me pausing it, okay? And it's going to allow you to actually stop watching the video and come over and take notes. And notice how some of the things is we're going to draw, some of them we're not going to draw, right? I'm going to move this over here a little bit. So now we're just going to kind of move down. So I come over here, and again, this isn't all of our notes. This is just the beginning part. So we turn to the next page. Again, we have our little header, our title, elements. So I wrote elements, and here's the little information. So I copied. Okay. Do I need to draw a picture of this rock? I do not. That's why it's not in here. We get into atoms. Atoms. Look at that. A definition. Okay. Same thing. Every time I get here, I'll say atoms. I'll make a comment, and then I'll say take notes. I will then pause. So let's practice. Okay. Atoms. The smallest piece of an element that contains all the properties of that element. Take notes. During this time, when I'm just kind of shaking my head, is when you should pause the video, take your notes, and once you're done, you should resume the video. Okay? Again, the pause will probably be 5 to 10 seconds, just giving you enough time to make sure you pause. Don't try to write it down in the middle of the pause. You're not going to do it, and you're going to end up getting behind. So the last thing that I want to show you is sometimes we're going to have a little bit longer notes for a section. So in this case, we have components of an atom. And in the components, we have a purple color, and then it's a definition. We've got a red color and a definition, a blue color and a definition. And if we go to the next page, we're still under elements. We've got a green and a definition, a green definition, a black, a definition. So all of those would go under kind of this title right here of components of an atom. And that's why it's written in my notebook as different. It's not over to the side. It's kind of centered, because then that tells me everything coming underneath that is going to fall into that window. Next thing on your notes, you're going to notice there's videos. You can take notes on your videos, but this is something where you don't have to take notes. You'll just kind of watch and follow along. As we continue to move on, atomic number, same thing. You would write that. And there's multiple different things. You'd write this, you'd write this. Here's a question. So this is something that I'll ask you, and I want you to do this in your head. So just for an example, are how many protons in this nucleus? That's something I will ask normally in person. But in this case, you would just, again, pause the video, get an answer, and go for it. All right. Periodic table of elements. Just, again, another question. You'll listen to the video. One thing that I want you to do is sometimes you're going to be drawing a picture. And so in this case, we would have you draw a picture. So we'd have you draw the atomic number. So this is the periodic table, the element carbon. You would draw the picture, and you would then kind of go through and label this. Again, this is all stuff that you will go over in your the actual lecture. But in this case, I just wanted to walk you through what your notebook should look like. So it's going to be a series, again, of every time there's a title, you're going to kind of write down the definition and whatever else your teacher says. If your teacher asks you to draw something, you're going to draw it. Okay, so you will have areas where you have a definition, areas of drawings. You will have all these different things in your notebook. If you remember in the past, we did everything ahead of time where we kind of wrote down all the vocabulary words and then we went and found them. This time with your notes, you're going to be taking the notes as we go on. All right. So hopefully this makes sense. If you have questions with this, please talk to your teacher, as they will be better able to do this to help you kind of one-on-one. But this should be a lot of, well, maybe not a lot of fun, but this should be a lot of information that we are going to be using throughout the course of this trimester. And the big thing is your notebook is going to come in handy, again, like it did last time, when we do our Prove It projects at the end or at the middle and end of our trimester. So good luck, keep doing well, and we're really glad to have you back in science for this year.